What's up, everyone? Woo, woo, woo. Welcome back to Birds Deep. Cool McCain, the NFL genius, the Godfrey, THEE, GODFREY. We got a lot going on down here. Cool McCain from the Elite Podcast. We're going to talk grades, and we're going to give you a preview of this week coming up, Eagles versus Hawks. Which bird is stronger? But first, Gene, tell them who you are.
Mean! Woo! Gene, if you noticed, my voice is still gone. I'm getting over a little bit of sickness. I was screaming at the TV. I don't know if it was sickness, like an illness, or if it was sickness after what I witnessed on Sunday night. One or the other. Something happened.
Could always be a combination of those two.
That's facts. That's facts.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if I felt sick. I mean, I was upset for sure, but I mean,
You don't know if you felt sick?
nah, maybe disbelief is a better word as far as the whole overall thing, how it played out. Not really disbelief over a loss. I mean, I never go into a game thinking it's not possible. There wasn't that wide of a gap between the two teams, but disbelief in how the loss went down per se.
Okay. I watched that game sick to my stomach because not one time, but two times we got bullied by an opposing NFC team that has 10 wins. And that's not okay to me. So,
Yeah, not okay. I mean, I don't think anybody could be okay with that. It's just like, I mean, there's a lot of ups and downs in the NFL season. I don't think it means the end of the Eagles season. I do think it's not ideal. It's definitely exposing some cracks in the Eagles foundation, coaching, players. I mean, the whole shebang. I mean, once we get into grades, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to have a C average tonight. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be below C average. Just a hunch. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how you could be happy with anything that really went on in that game except defensive touchdown. But that's outside of that. I mean, we're talking about one morsel out of 99% of the game that really was not good at all, not enjoyable, flabbergasted, by so many things that went on. But we'll start. I mean, like, we want to go with grades. We want to get this out the way so we can move on the next week and flush this turd down the toilet.
I mean, sure, but I'm wearing black because I'm going to a funeral, and it's a funeral of Sean Desai because I'm done with him. I'm giving up.
Yeah, well, before we get into grades, let's bring that up. Is the talk that I hear is, hey, Sean Desai needs to go, or the other side of the coin is Sean Desai has nothing to work with?
But if you don't think he has nothing to work with, you're not paying attention.
Okay. So
the truth is in the middle. The truth is in the middle. Sean Desai does not need to go. If you're through with Sean Desai, that's fine. You have your opinions. I don't really care. You're not watching if you feel that way too, in my opinion. Does he need to be better? Absolutely. But where the focus needs to be, where it's not, is on that trash that calls itself an offensive coordinator and a head coach. And mainly the trash head coach. Because as has come out this weekend, I do not blame Brian Johnson. I'm not going to continue to take the blame for silly Sirianni and that stupid offense that same thing he called 2 years ago that didn't work. I'm not going to keep taking the blame for that. Silly Sirianni is the main problem on this team. And if you don't agree with that, that's fine. But you're not paying attention to what's going on with Philadelphia if you don't realize the idiot head coach is the problem.
So I looked at last year and a team that went to the Super Bowl with that same head coach. There's one thing that's changed defensively. You went from Jonathan Gannon to Sean Desai. They play base vanilla zone 70% of the snap.
Okay.
If now, you play base vanilla zone
as well, there's actually two things that changed from last year. Shane Steichen was our offensive coordinator last year. We ran the ball and we used different formations. We don't do any of that this year. The offense is trash, and I'm tired of it. Ooh, I'm so tired of that.
You should run the ball
three times.
How can you run? Yeah.
They moved the ball this game. I can't blame this game on the offense.
They scored 6 points, Gene. How can you not? They scored 6 points.
They fumbled the ball 3 times inside the Cowboys' territory. 3 times. You're gonna blame
your 3 top players fumbled.
Oh, hold on. Let me go even further since you You listen. Devontae Smith dropped a touchdown that was in his hands. A.J. Brown dropped the ball at the 2-yard line. They fumbled 3 times inside Dallas's territory. Yeah, it's not the offense. It's the players fumbling the football. That has nothing to do with the scheme or the play call.
Dude, they know the plays. The players are even coming out and saying it. The offense is so vanilla and so simple. They already know the routes. They got to fight to run their route because the defense already knows the route because it's the same routes. Is that their fault? No, that's the coaching.
Yeah, but how do you coach? How do you coach not your top 3 players fumbling the football in the 30-yard line and closer?
How do you coach to say I'm going to throw the ball to 3 people the whole game? How do you coach to that? How stupid is that?
Well, who else? I mean, I think like your statement said before about the defense, it's a little in the middle as far as on the offense about whose fault it is. I do fault Brian Johnson a little bit. I do fault Sirianni a little bit. But I mean, running the ball, they were moving the ball. How can you run when you keep giving up points on the back end with the defense and then you're behind? It takes the run game out of the equation. And then on top of that, you're fumbling. So you're not even getting the field goal. That's the problem I have with the offense is we're not finishing drives. We're getting too many field goals.
My issue with the offense is the same thing it's always been. They're not running the football, and they're running stupid bubble screens. And I agree with Cool that the play calling and Sirianni has issues. All you had to do was listen to Sirianni's press conference on Tuesday, and you'd be just as mad as I was. It was one of the worst press conferences you will ever hear. He literally said, I'm not going to blame – this is a quote. I'm not going to blame them for being tired because every team is tired at this point. But if you notice that the college football season is over and they're not playing, that's how much of a grind the NFL season is. So to me, it sounded like he said, I'm not going to blame being tired, but they're tired. And then he also said when he was talking about the plus minus and the turnover differential being a plus 14 last year, minus 4 this year, he said sometimes the ball bounces a different way. That's with the difference of 18 turnovers. Sometimes the ball bounces different ways. Really? You know what's funny? They should be worse in their plus minus because the first game they played Dallas, they fumbled the ball 3 times and recovered all 3. So,
yeah, I mean,
I want to address something real quick, Godfrey, because the defense to me is a bigger problem than the offense. And me and Cool aren't going to see eye to eye on that, and I get that. I respect him, and he thinks the offense is a bigger problem. I think the defense is a bigger problem.
Can't they both suck, though?
No, they can both suck, and they did both suck.
They both suck, but the offense is worse because the defense was built predicated on bend but don't break and being ahead. We're never ahead. Also, a problem on both sides of the ball is, especially on defense, there's no depth. And you know why? And you know why there's no depth? Because the depth wasn't brought in. There are guys on the team, but guess what? They didn't play them.
You know what I think doesn't get talked about enough as far as depth and defensive additions to the team is, I don't know why, but I think Nolan Smith not contributing to the team at this point in the season is a huge disappointment for whatever reason it may be. Him, the coaching staff.
Ringo's not out there at all.
Yeah. Well, Kaylee Ringo, I'm not as disappointed about because of his draft position and what he's done, hasn't done. Maybe he's still needing to develop. But when you take a defensive end in the first round, back half or not, they need to make an impact the first year at defensive end. And that is something that's missing on our defense is an impact. Sam Reddick can't do it all. We need someone on the other side besides Josh Sweat getting in there because remember, this defense is based off rotational.
Trent Williams and Tyron Smith back-to-back weeks. They're the 2 of the best 5 left tackles in all football. He got bullied. Every other week of the season, Josh Sweat has been very, very, very good.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a bad player.
But it's okay for Josh Sweat to have a tough game here and there versus left tackles. The issue I have with the defense is it's predicated on you have to get pressure with your front 4. And if you don't get pressure with your front 4, the zone is going to get carved up and diced up. The part that bothers me the most is this. They're going to go into Seattle and play a different team in New York and Arizona and New York. And we're going to believe that this team's better because you're playing against lower competition, less offensive lines, less quarterback play. You're going to play teams that aren't as good at football. And then we're going to be like, oh, it's suddenly fixed. It's not fixed. The scheme is broken. You cannot play base vanilla zone versus good football teams. They will absolutely figure you out and carve you up.
So See, but that's the thing that I keep going back to this defense. I know Sweat has he went against people like that, and it's not to pick on Sweat. The reason why I'm bringing him up is part of the Eagles' strength in how they design their defense is rotational, right? So you don't have enough guys in the rotation that can make an impact. You're not going to wear those guys down because that's the type of game you have to play against the Trent Williams, right? You got to get him when he's weak on a snap because he's been in there the whole game, and you got a guy that's got more legs under him because he's fresh. So if you don't have enough guys in the rotation on defensive end, which they don't, how are we going to get pressure from the other side of the edge? And that's not the knock on Josh Sweat. I'm saying it can't only be Josh Sweat. It can't only be Hassan Reddick, the way they designed his defense. And I think, Nolan Smith was a great victory at the time during the draft, and he might end up being great. But how is this guy only playing special teams right now?
Can I give you an example? Can I give you an example, Godfrey?
Sure.
When we played the New York Jets early in the season, did Sauce Gardner play?
He was injured, right?
Yeah, he did not play. Did their number 2 cornerback DJ Reader play?
He was also injured.
No,
I believe. Injured.
So they were missing their number 1 and number 2 cornerbacks. Yet the Philadelphia Eagles couldn't throw against the New York Jets very well.
Oh,
you know why?
Depth at quarterback. Depth. That's
you can
why.
say depth. You could say depth.
You can't say depth.
Team. And great coordinators like Robert Saleh. Like Rex Ryan once was, like D'Amico Ryans, great coordinators find depth through scheme. They make players look better than they are. I'll give you an example of that. Byron Maxwell. He used to be an elite cornerback on Seattle, got a huge contract, and went over to a different scheme and looked like trash. How about Nnamdi Asomugha? He used to be an elite cornerback in Oakland. They turned him into a zone corner in Philadelphia, and he was trash.
So how about this?
Team makes team.
So how about this, though, G? Let me point out something to you. All right, so our last coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, when he was here, he ran something similar to what we see now, right?
No, he ran a lot more man than he ran zone. The reason they switched from 65% man to 70% zone. That's a huge difference.
Okay, but similar scheme-wise. Man versus zone, but similar scheme-wise. The coordinator before him, Jim Schwartz, same type of thing.
No,
they're going to other places. They're going to other places.
Completely different defense.
And they're running different defenses. What I feel like, and you don't have to agree with me, doesn't matter. Okay. Nobody has to agree with me. The organization has a way they want the defense to play.
I've said that before.
And if you don't fit what they want you to play, you won't be here. So you have to play it a certain way. What I feel is we've got a first-year coordinator that hasn't had the say in the personnel that he's needed to get the guys that he feels for the scheme that he wants to run. So he has the pieces that he has, and that's what it is. Now, we don't have enough speed that we're playing. We got Sidney Brown, young guy, fast. He should be playing more. Reed Blankenship when he plays some speed. A lot of other guys, they're older people. Also, remember, last year we went 8 to 10 deep on the defensive line. We're running them in 4 at a time. We can't do that this year. That's a big difference. That's a huge difference. Also, injuries at the linebacker position and not keeping some of those other guys that we had last year that weren't great, but they were solid and serviceable at linebacker. Why is Kaiser White not here? Why is he in Arizona? We should have kept Kaiser White. I know TJ Edwards, he wanted to go back to Chicago. I get that. I could respect that.
Well, we were also expecting Jacoby Dean to be, no one forecast the guy to get injured.
Right, but you still needed somebody across from him. Even when he was there, who was he playing with? That's the thing. Those are things that I think
shouldn't see a football field the rest of the year.
Who won't?
Nicholas Morrow shouldn't see a football field the rest of the year.
I don't have a problem with that.
He is terrible.
I don't have a problem with that. All I'm saying is there's a lot of things that's going against a guy coming in year one that to be our coordinator.
You know, it's funny, Cool. Right. You say this, but yet you can point at one player on the entire starting defense that is below average, and that's the problem. There's one player that starts for that team that isn't good, and that's.
But you just said that you can be good in one scheme and not good in another one.
Nicholas Morrow wouldn't play any scheme ever.
No, Nicholas Morrow shouldn't be on. I mean, he should be on the field, but we have to have somebody at linebacker. But that's the point. Even in the offseason, I said it then. I can go back and pull up the receipts from Eagles Elite. I said it then. We need better linebacker play depth-wise. Just because a guy may not start doesn't mean you want to have a piece of trash behind your starter.
You're right.
We had trash behind the starters.
3.
And that's the problem.
Yep.
It's safety. We don't have enough depth of quality guys at safety, right? Now, you got to use what you got, and you got to develop guys throughout the year. And if you want to fault Sean Desai, you could give him a F on player development because all these young guys have not developed this year. They're
Correct.
not seeing the
and
field.
I don't think their secondary doesn't have depth. I don't think their secondary doesn't have depth.
It's not being used. It's not being used.
I mean, you can say that. Eli Ricks is getting absolutely torched out there. He's depth. Keely Ringo is getting abused when he's on the field. That's depth.
But I'm saying early in the season, when these guys should have been getting snaps, they were not getting snaps. They just started getting snaps a couple of weeks ago. You can't bring in rookie guys, never played them early in the season, put them out there against the better offenses in the league, and then say, oh, they're getting torched, they're not playing. Well, of course they are. They don't know what they're doing because they didn't get the reps when they should have been getting reps.
And I think
James Bradbury's
coordinator.
James Bradbury is slow. Darius Slay is slow. They're not as fast as they used to be. We could run some different things if we would develop these young corners so that we could switch out sometimes. Maybe
I think we do play too much zone.
We get these younger guys in there that are fast, that are explosive, that could do some things that these older guys can't do at this point in their career. And I mean, Slay has already said pretty much, oh, I'm not hitting nobody, I'm not putting my head down, hitting nobody. I want to be able to have fun with my kids when I retire. So he's got one foot out the door in my mind. So if you're not all the way built in, if you're not here to take the hits, if you're not here to be a gladiator, go home.
I mean, Slay and Bradbury were known for, correct me if I'm wrong here, they were man corners, right? They weren't always, they weren't.
Bradbury's never been like, Slay is an elite coverage guy. He's always been an elite coverage guy. And by the way, Slay's going to get something for me too, because I think that Slay's played great, in my opinion. Great, not good, great. But you don't need to keep retweeting your PFF grades and how you're doing versus coverage. When you're playing in zone, PFF plays right into your hands because they don't have you locked up versus a single player. So it says 4 times targeted, 0 receptions for Slay. We know you weren't targeted more than you. We know you were targeted more than 4 times. We're watching the game, Slay. Stop showing that and retweeting that, because when you have 6 tackles in a football game, and tell me that no catches were made on 4 targets, that's inaccurate. Now, I think Slay's playing well for the position that he's put in, but don't retweet PFF when you're playing zone 70% of the time. And address the last thing that Cool said. Cool, I respect you. I love you. I get your point. I understand it. But I will say this. 3 different coordinators ran 3 different schemes. Jim Schwartz ran cover friggin' 0 all day. He ran man. The argument against him was that they weren't taking the ball away enough. So then Jonathan Gannon came in and ran cover 2 with 2 deep safeties, man, and got pressure from the rotating defensive lineman. But Sean Desai is running cover 2 zone, which is soft zone bullshit.
Okay, Gene. I don't give a fuck what formation you put it in. Last year, Jonathan Gannon had everybody 5 yards off in coverage. That's the same crap I see out there. You can call the formation whatever you want to call it. It was 5 yards off soft zone, and that's why everybody was eating us up last year. Thankfully, we were able to get turnovers and sacks, which we're not getting this year. The difference between last year and this year, I don't care what the scheme is that we were playing off both times, but we're not getting sacks and turnovers. That's the difference. If we were getting the same production with Jonathan Gannon, that defense would be worse last year.
Yeah, but cool. If you're not getting sacks, the reason you're not getting sacks is because they're not playing man at all. So when you play zone, a good quarterback can see that zone and throw into a pocket every single time. So they're getting the ball out quicker. They're getting the ball out quicker.
Watch, they're getting the ball out, period, quicker. They are. All year, it doesn't matter what we're playing. They're getting the ball out quicker. They were getting the ball out quicker when we were in that zone last year, too, later on in the season. They realized, oh, we got 5-10 yards before they're even going to contact the player. So all we got to do is throw slants and crosses. And that's what they were doing on us. So it's not like, okay, you want to say they were playing coverage to play coverage. Fine. They were playing 5 yards off. They were giving guys openings. They're doing the same thing this year. The problem is we're worse at linebacker. That's a decision. That's something that comes from up top. That's the Howie Roseman problem. Howie Roseman didn't go out and replenish what he needed to do. That's the Howie Roseman problem. And I'm not saying that Desai does not deserve any credit, but I'm saying to sit up here and say he should be fired, to me, that's laughable. He needs to improve. He definitely does need to improve. And I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't, but that's laughable, especially when you got this.
Well, I mean, if you're saying
doing.
They're running the same scheme they ran last year, then if essentially defensive coordinator is the Queen of England, they're a figurehead then, right? I mean,
they're not running the same scheme.
They're always playing
off ball, which is
they're still playing off. They were playing off last year. They're playing off.
So off ball is correct. That is the same. That could be an organizational thing that the organization wants you to play bend but don't break. That could come from the top down. I understand that, right? But that's not the same scheme. And the reason that
philosophy, they have the same philosophy. Is that better for you, Jim?
That's fair.
They have the same philosophy.
Well, there you go. I've been saying that for weeks about this philosophy on the defense, and this ties into the offense. If they get up early, it works great. When they don't, it fails miserably because how the other team has to play.
They haven't had a lead all year.
I know,
and that's why
Jalen brought us back. But when you're playing the better teams, right? Let's be honest here too. Like they beat the Bills and the Chiefs, but the Cowboys right now and the 49ers are better teams than the Bills and the Chiefs. Bar none. Both of them are better teams.
I hope the Bills are better than the Cowboys on Sunday.
I mean, maybe, but I'm just saying you got to look at it from a talent perspective and how they perform on the field. I know the Cowboys haven't played a lot of people that are winning.
Dallas this week, I guarantee it.
Whatever
you want, we'll bet whatever you want. Buffalo beat Dallas this week.
It definitely can happen for sure because there's the road element there. But the point of me bringing it up is that they were not on the road. They were at home where Dallas has won 14 straight. So you have to put points up. I didn't like them kicking the ball off first. I wasn't a fan of that.
It was a terrible idea. I don't know why they elected to kick the ball.
Because the coaches are smelling their own ass. That's why.
Because Nick Sirianni is an idiot. That's why.
I've saw a lot of stories come out this week about is it Brian Johnson or is it Nick? Is it Brian Johnson?
The offensive side we can talk about right now. Let's start with that. Offensive coordinator Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni. What would you give them as a grade? And me and Cool are the opposite end of the spectrum here.
I'll give a D minus.
Oh, you're higher than I expected. I give them a C minus. I thought you would be an F and I would be a C minus. And I'll tell you why I'm at a C minus, and you can tell me why you're at a D minus. Because I can't give Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson the flack for 3 fumbles and 2 drop touchdowns. That can't happen. A.J. Brown dropped the ball. He catches 100% of the time, 95% of the time at the 2-yard line. Devontae Smith dropped the ball to hit his fingertips that he catches 90% of the time. Those are touchdowns. They fumbled 3 times inside the Dallas 40-yard line. That's not on the coaching staff. Now, the part that drove me nuts is exactly why I give them a C minus and not like anything higher. 24-6, they open the second half with the ball. I can give you the play sheet. Run the ball DeAndre Swift 8 yards. Run the ball DeAndre Swift 7 yards. Run the ball DeAndre Swift 8 yards. And then pass the ball, A.J. Brown 13 yards, fumble. I don't know. We were running the ball at 7 yards a pop 3 times in a row. Why are we? I just don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, I mean, at that point in the game when you're up 24-6, I think the Cowboys are going to like, okay, you want to run the ball? Go ahead and run the ball. I mean, and that's definitely what they're going to back off the run. In the beginning of the game, it definitely changes how they're going to approach the Eagles' offense.
Running or passing, if you're getting 7 to 8 yards per play, it doesn't matter. You can run the ball. If you're getting 7 yards to play, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're passing the ball or running the ball.
Right. No, I get
7 yards to play. Any team would take that.
I hear you on that. I'm just saying their defensive approach is definitely going to change. And when you're up by 18, they're definitely not going to be
cool. If they run the ball or they pass the ball and they're getting 7 yards to play, does it matter?
In my mind, no.
Okay, just check.
But this is my thing. The reason I'm giving them a D minus is because you had several times within this game, even though you had the turnovers, you had several times within this game where you should have been running the ball, where you should have been diversifying the plays, giving Dallas looks that they weren't used to. Seattle came out the other week with my man with the elbow jacked up, throwing the ball all over him because he looked at the matchups and said, oh, right there, this dude, he can't guard anybody. He's going to get a pick or he's going to get burnt. And they went and used that. We didn't do that. We did the same thing no matter what. We give the same looks. We haven't been unique. We haven't been different. That's why I'm not going to give them anything above a D minus. You come out and you show me something different. You try to make adjustments. You try to make the offense better, and then you turn the ball over. I'm not blaming you for the turnovers. I'm taking the turnovers out of it. You take the turnovers out of it, this was still trash juice. That's why I'm giving him a D-.
Yeah, I don't. That's everything you said. I agree with, except the last part. You take the turnovers out of it. I guess the 2 drop passes are on the coaching staff. Like, that can't put that on them.
It doesn't go on the coaching staff, but the play calls, the fact that they're in the situations they're in because the other team knows what we're doing because we keep doing the same things. That's on the coaches.
I'm giving them.
If you scheme guys open, you allow guys to be in situations where they can sit and catch the ball, and they don't have a defender drug over them all the time. Maybe they catch better. I don't know. Crazy thought.
I'm in between you and G. I'm giving them a D+. I'm not going to give them a C. I'm not going to give them a D- or an F, because I agree with Gene on a lot of parts about the players have to make plays. The part where I'm at the coaches is this is an aggressive defense, known for getting turnovers. How in the hell does your 3 top star players get the ball punched out? Like, after the first time, guys, be on alert. After the second time, guys, be on alert. We told you they're going to punch the ball 3 times in a row. This wasn't non-contact, falling on the –
It was almost
not all right,
the opposite ends of the game.
To me,
well,
I'm saying
go there, Godfrey. That's why I didn't even bring it in, because I knew you would go there and I didn't want to steal your thunder. But I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
I knew you would go there with his coaching with the turnovers too. You're supposed to be coaching it up.
So, but the coaches can't do anything when the players don't listen to coaching. And I don't know if that was the case or not in the situation, but with the drop passes, that's definitely not on the coaches.
Not on coaching fumbling the ball. I'm telling you. Sorry.
Well,
no, I'm not.
Listen,
I'm not saying it. We're not saying it's on coaching. What we're saying is, as the coaches, when the first fumble happens, it's like, hey, bro, you need to really get on it and make sure you're securing the ball. If you got to get the ball and go down, that's what you need to do.
It's one of 2 issues here.
Keep turning the ball over. That's what I'm saying is on the coaches.
It's
the actual fumbles themselves are not on the coaches.
It's one of 2 here issues. Either they coached it and they didn't respond, or they didn't coach it. We don't really know because we weren't on the sidelines.
Godfrey, can I ask you a question? How do you coach not fumbling?
What do you gotta, if you see them, certain teams play certain styles of defenses. If you think this team is going to be aggressive and they're punching the ball and they're having success, aren't you going to be on high alert about that? Guys, watch it.
They fumbled 3 times when they played them the first time. They just recovered them all. They fumbled 7 times versus Dallas.
But didn't they punch the ball out every single time this time?
No, they ripped the ball out from AJ Brown.
But they got it out there, right?
We're not just dropping it. Yeah, we're not tripping over our own.
Okay. So they're not going to be able to physically prevent them from doing that. But I'm questioning whether they were prepared, knowing this is aggressive defense, or they did tell them and the players didn't respond. Because if the player, and that's your end, right? The players didn't respond. The drop pass, they should have caught that. I agree 100%. The Smitty drop and the AJ Brown drop. The thing that I have a problem with is I just don't like this coaching staff. I think doesn't show the penchant to adjust on the fly. And I think them running the ball at the beginning of the half, like you talked about, was them trying to adjust. And it went flat after AJ Brown.
Godfrey, for you to say this coaching staff doesn't adjust, you're out of your fucking mind. They have versus Buffalo, versus Kansas City, versus Washington. Right. They've been down 10 times at halftimes. They've adjusted at halftime. Right. You actually made a statement on this podcast 3 weeks ago that they were just letting them get up in the first half so they could make the adjustments at halftime and they would be better in the second half. And the defense.
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying, are they just the way they're approaching the run game? Are they holding out on it? And
apparently not.
That was a question, not a statement. But I'm
talking QB1 6:30. Can we go to QB1?
Yeah, but dude, sure. I'm not saying they listen. I'm not saying they never adjust. I'm talking about you have to make timely adjustments. And if we're saying
coaching staff on the offensive side has made great adjustments offensively every friggin' game this year at halftime.
I disagree.
The problem is they start slow. That's the problem.
No, that's not true.
They've had some, but I can't say they have it all the games.
So
I can't say that. I can't agree with
every game.
And then it's the players, right? Because I see Jalen not taking what the defense gives him sometimes.
Yes, I agree with that.
All right, so where is that at? Is that the coaching or is the player? We are not on the sidelines. It's got to be one of the two, right? So where's that adjustment at? Right? I still see them every game going for the home run instead of what the defense takes them. I don't see any adjustment from that. Where? I don't see it.
So Godfrey, do you not think that the bubble screen is going for the home run?
No, I think it's
a home run every play.
A home run play. That is such a low percentage
balls,
play.
And everyone's talking about they go for the home run every play. Throw 5 deep balls in a whole game.
But
Oh,
I'm talking about when Jalen holds onto the
How many of
ball
you want them to be over 10 yards?
when Jalen holds onto the ball forever, okay, and doesn't take what the defense gives them. Is that them saying keep your eyes downfield for the play? I mean, am I not seeing that happen?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, right. Neither of us do, but I'm going by what he's doing on the field. And we'll get into Jalen. I mean, I just, there's adjustments, there's game plan adjustments. There's, hey, in-game adjustments, you need to approach it this way, take what the defense gives you. And I don't see those type of adjustments happening. He's going to play on the fly. He's making some great plays, but we keep talking about like, well, we're not starting out well. So if we're not starting out well, what's going on there?
Well, that's more of the reason I gave them a C- because they're not starting out well, and that's
how this defense is built. They have to start out well.
Well, their defense stinks. We'll get into defense in a minute. QB1, what are you giving him, Godfrey?
Man,
I'm not letting you pick between me and Cool this time. You got to go first.
Yeah, I don't. I'm going to give him a C-. I just don't. I don't think. I don't like his footwork. I don't like what he's doing as far as selections of plays. Or I'm sorry, his reads. I don't like a lot of stuff he's doing, and I don't like him not taking what the defense gives him. And I see that it's a constant I'm seeing through the season. Maybe not the whole game, but a large part of the game. And I don't know if he's not comfortable with the plays. I don't know if he's not comfortable in general. I can't be about that. And, they finally start saying, hey, run the ball. And that was a great run. And then it gets stripped. It's going to happen. But the turnovers are a problem, right? I mean, he has more than last year and teams are attacking him. I mean, it's a lot, and I just don't like, he's not comfortable. Look at his footwork. Okay. Look at it. And I'm telling you, that could be directly connected to it. And I think part of that has to do with the difference in play calling and the difference in scheme from Shane Steichen to this year.
I agree with that 100%. I give him a C- also. I think that them as a team have moved the football. They've ran the ball for 4.5 yards per carry. Again, any team in football will take that. Swift ran the ball for 3.5 yards per carry, Hurts 6 yards per carry, Gainwell 7 yards per carry, Scott 3 yards per carry. They carried the ball 23 times. They passed it 27. I don't think Jalen was terrible. I mean, 18 to 27. If you give him the 2 balls that should have been caught, it's 20 for 27 for 250, 260. I don't think he was terrible. I give him a C-. I think he was not great. The fumble definitely adds to that. I give him a C- there. So I got back-to-back C-.
I'll give him a D.
Okay.
I expect more in adapting and adjustment. We've heard times where he said, you know what, I see this on the field and I do something different, right? I call an audible. He said that. He's talked about that. We need more of that, especially in situations where we've had a fumble, we haven't been moving the ball. Let's do something different, right?
Yeah.
That's where I think he can be, even in the offense, which I think is putrid right now, the play calling for it. I think you saying, all right, I'm going to call something different. I see that we need to run the ball. I'm going to adapt this into a run play. I need him to get rid of the ball quicker as well. If you don't have to play when you need to have to play, so you're not going to get hit or sacked, throw the ball away or just run out of bounds. I don't want to see you sit in the pocket as long as you're sitting in the pocket and try to set up big plays. And I'm not saying he's doing it all the time, but when they're happening, he's waiting too long.
Okay.
And I think part of that is, again, the plays that are being called, the other team already knows in this set with this lineup, it's more than likely that these guys are going to run these routes. So let's be on them. And I see a lot of the other team on them and them having to elevate to make a catch, fight through to make a catch. Not a lot of separation between the defender and the wide receiver. So I believe that is because they're figuring out what we're doing and the offense is vanilla. But I'm giving him a D because he's the quarterback.
Close there. C- and D is very close. Yeah. I'm all right with that.
I expect more
close on defense.
I expect more from Jalen.
Can I start on defense?
Hold on. So I'm in between where you're at. Cool. I mean, I get what you're saying there, but the thing about it is these drops, man. Those were killers.
Oh, they were.
And,
They absolutely
and
were.
I don't know, man. I'm a little in between what you're saying about the play calling, because the play calling, right? It's not a problem if it's successful. We're having a different conversation, and the difference between success.
No, we're actually not having a different conversation in my mind.
So you think there needs to be more volume of, I would say, motion. I heard people chanting or on the airwaves saying we need more plays with motion. We need things like that. So you think there needs to be different scheme in that way to keep it unpredictable. And you're saying it's vanilla.
Shane Steichen definitely did a better job than Brian Johnson. He's absolutely right.
Sure.
Nick Sirianni has his hands all over the offense. It looks like the offense when he gave the play calling over to Shane Steichen. That's exactly what the offense looks like. Yeah. Cole was 100% right about that part.
It reminds me of his first game.
That's my issue. And I get what you're saying, and I'm not saying like, oh, the offense is just terrible. It's an F every week, and they just suck, and the play call is completely awful. But it needs to be much better. It needs to vary. We ran like iPhone twice. Like, come on, like just use different formations. Like, I'm just sick of seeing this, man. I'm not used to the defense being this bad or the offense being this bad, and definitely not at the same time.
Bro, I've been so waiting to go in this defense.
You know what? I forgot to bring this up about Sirianni, and then we'll go to the D. I was not a fan of him going for it and not taking the field goal right there. I just think that was an error on his part. And then there's other parts where he's like, oh, I'm not going to be aggressive. I'm going to kick it. I'm going to punt it right here. It just seems like mixed signals. In general, I'm not a fan of coaches saying, hey, I'm going to go for it here, especially in a game, because those 3 points can keep it from going to a 2-3 possession game, right? And they're like, we're just going to go for the touchdown here. I thought that was a mistake by Sirianni. So, did we even give Sirianni a grade yet?
Yeah.
That was the offensive grade.
That was the offensive grade.
Yeah. So.
All right, Gene, go ahead. Defense is all yours, sir.
I give the defense an F-, the worst possible grade you can give it. I think that Dak Prescott carved up this defense, and the staple of the defense was being able to stop the run. Dallas ran the ball for 4.3 yards per carry, which is pathetic. Tony Pollard, Rico Dowd, Kevontae Turpin, even Dak Prescott all got in on it. Oh, and by the way, you said something earlier about the Eagles throwing the ball to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Well, the Cowboys threw the ball to Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, Tony Pollard, Rico Dowd, Kevontae Turpin.
Imagine how that works better. It's crazy.
It was pathetic. It was a poor excuse, and they couldn't stop anything. And when you look at the team stats, it gets even worse. You want to talk about how bad the Philadelphia Eagles were? Let's talk about how they were on third down. The third down efficiency, 9 for 16. Are you out of your mind? How do you allow 9 for 16?
It's like a hot butter knife.
Oh, 9 for 16.
Not wrong.
Again, F-. I know I'm on my island by myself. I've seen enough. Chicago fans warned me about Sean Desai. I didn't listen, and it's all coming back to me. It's all coming back to me now. F-.
Yeah, you want to go? Cool. Or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
I'm not an F, but I'm a D, and the reason why I'm a D is because
you are a D.
Yeah. Well, listen, big D, not Dallas, but I think just there's not enough there for Desai, but at the same time, in certain spots, not all spots, at the same time though, I'm not a fan of the scheme, and the reason why I have a hard time giving him a straight F.
Question. How could you give him? How would you give him an F? What would he have to do for you to give him an F?
So for me, when I'm grading the Eagles defense, because we talked about this earlier, and I've been saying this for 2 years, the philosophy organizationally, I think handcuffs Desai a little bit.
So you give him a whole letter grade improvement because you think the philosophy of the scheme is the problem.
Well, a D or F, if I took that home to my parents, that was a failure either way. So I don't look at a D as like a victory.
F-.
Listen, I'm not happy with the defense. The run game, I mean, holy crap, you're right. That was supposed to be a strength. It's not for some reason. They're running all over us, and that was surprising. I thought that was something we were going to be able to hang our hat on in that game. Um,
You want to
yeah,
know the truth, Godfrey? Here's the truth, right? The truth is Jalen Carter is washed right now. I'm not saying he's done forever, but he's never played 14 games in a season ever in his life. In high school, in college, ever. Jordan Davis is washed right now. The reason their run game is getting picked apart is because our strengths, which were our defensive tackles, who were absolutely blowing up the middle of teams' defenses, are getting bullied by good offensive lines.
but isn't that supposed to be alleviated somewhat by the way the Eagles rotate in?
But
right?
but like Cole said, last year they rotated 8 to 10. This year they're rotating 7. Then we
Right.
have they have 4 defensive tackles on the roster. Well, I mean, they have more than 4 on the roster, but they have 4 defensive tackles that they play, and one of them plays less than 5 snaps. So the 3 defensive tackles that you're seeing on the field are Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. That's it. Fletcher Cox plays the most snaps, and he's
What
the
about Milton? Milton gets on the field too.
Williams is not on the field the last few weeks. He's been hurt.
Oh, I thought I saw him play last week.
He was on the field last week.
He was on the field. I mean, but still, even if he was
being injured,
that's still not enough.
He had 2 assisted tackles.
Yeah, that's still not enough.
Oh,
even yeah, I remember saying even if he was, he's still not enough, in my opinion. I agree with you there. I mean, but that goes back to did Howie sign enough depth in the offseason? Like, where is our depth at? That's part
how
of
many
it.
defensive tackles do you want? You got to have your defensive tackles in somewhat of shape.
I think that I'm giving him a D as well. I think though, I mean, we can go into the details, but I'll simply say this: I think that the issue is we are expecting a lot from 2 young guys, and we did play them a whole heck of a lot early in the season. We ran those guys into the ground because we didn't have a solid rotation. So now we're getting on the back end of the season, and Gene is absolutely correct. They're washed. They need to play less snaps. Hopefully, this is something that we learn from moving forward.
Didn't Jalen Carter miss 2 games, or was it 1?
He set out most of the second Commanders game because he got hurt early in the game. They just kept him out for precautionary reasons.
Jalen Carter played 43% of the snaps, 35 snaps. Played less snaps than Jordan Davis, less snaps than Fletcher Cox, less snaps than Milton Williams.
He did.
Tired.
Yes, but he's burnt. And like you said, he's burnt. So the thing is, at this point, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to play these same guys at a watch? So you're going to see if there's anything out there that I can bring in and maybe even 15, 20 snaps a game just to get these guys a little bit of less time on the field.
Yeah, I just looked that up. I just wanted to look at the snap count. Shaq Leonard played 17 snaps. The leading snap count on the Eagles linebacking crew was Nicholas Morrow with 78% of the snaps.
And then Reed Blankenship got
one player that played 100% of snaps. Can you guess who it was?
Sidney Brown.
Nope.
It would be Big Play Slay.
Nope. 82%.
Brandon Graham.
Nope. Brandon Graham, 51%. Bradbury is another great guess, 88%. Played 72 snaps. Bradbury did.
Roby? I mean, at this point, I'm just throwing names out there.
Kevin Byard.
I do be forgetting about him.
He played 100% of snaps. Every defensive snap.
That makes sense. Yeah. He should have been much earlier in my guesstimation.
It's fair. I mean,
see, this is why the Eagles cannot be coming up with 3-point drives, right? They got to be coming up with touchdowns because they got to keep the defense off the field if they're washed.
Or lengthy drives, at least.
Or
like the thing is, they're not even lengthy drives. Like even like when we were coming back and scoring, right, in the second half, it'd be like 3 plays for 75 yards. It's like, bro, I'm glad we got the points. Don't get me wrong, but you're still not helping the defense because they got to still hop right back on the field. And that's a combined thing, right? So every week you're adding up. So if we can just this last couple of weeks, man, it's not going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I don't have any expectation it's going to happen. But if we can actually say, let's run the ball 30 times. Let's give Swift 20 carries. Let's give the rest of the backs 10 to 12 carries, right? If we would just do that, I think we would get good yards running the ball because we have a great running offensive line. But we're not going to do it. You know why we're not going to do it? Because Nick Sirianni wants to throw the ball and he wants the big plays. He doesn't want to be meticulous down the field. I don't feel like. I'm not in the man's head, but just from what I'm seeing all season. And when he was the main person calling the plays 2 years ago. He wants the big plays. He wants the passing game to be the reason that we're successful or not.
Micah Parsons plays 90% of the Dallas Cowboys snaps, and he hasn't had 70 snaps in one football game this year. I just want to be clear. So you're absolutely right. When the defense is on the field as much as they are, they will get exhausted. You could look at someone like DeMarcus Lawrence, the defensive end for Dallas. He plays 48 snaps per game average. I'm sorry, that's his high this year. He plays 35 snaps per game average. Average. Yeah. It's a problem.
Yeah, and I want to amend what I said earlier. So we'll say they make adjustments. I want good adjustments. Coming out of like, I don't want, oh, you know what? Let's throw a fucking bubble screen to someone. Okay. Let's get the offense going with a bubble screen to Julio Jones, who's dust. Okay. Like, I don't
have to worry about that this week. Julio Jones seen zero action.
Yeah. So, I just
think he was on the field 3 times.
Yeah, man. And the Eagles were doing so well for a while at certain things that it does become predictable. And, and I do understand the predictability part of what Cool is saying, but man, you also got to give what the defense is giving you, and you take what the defense is giving you. Like the plays that keep running through my head, especially in the 49ers game, is Jalen Hurts waving AJ Brown. Run the goddamn ball.
I got news for you. If Devin Witherspoon plays this week, which he might not, he's questionable. If Devin Witherspoon plays this week, you better look for Devontae Smith all day because AJ Brown's going to be locked up.
And the thing with AJ Brown, man, I got a little bit of a bone to pick with my guy AJ Brown.
Thank you.
AJ, you got to keep your mind right, brother. You out there wilding, wanting to fight. You need to be fighting the football, not the other team.
Right.
He is out there absolutely
popping your jaws at Stephen Gilmore, and you done made that man forget that he old for one game, and he out there playing like the young Stephen Gilmore. That's because you pissed him off.
Stephen Gilmore, Reggie Miller at his ass.
That's because you pissed him off. You pissed him off, and then you got mad. Like, if you're going to go at people, bro, then you got to expect that they're going to give you their best, and you got to keep your mind in the game. Yeah, you had 9 for 94, but there's so much more that you can get his team. There's games this year where you make catches with guys draped all over you. This game, I see you out there. I saw times where Hurts was looking at you, and you fighting Gilmore.
9 for 94 is misleading because I know it counts, but when you go 20 yards and fumble the football, that's almost like an empty amount. It's empty yards to me.
Calories.
It's empty
yards.
I'm
just saying,
doesn't mean
stat
shit.
Wise. I'm just saying stat wise because people are going to say, oh, he's got 9 for 94.
Yeah.
That's fine, but we need a lot more out of him in this game.
All right.
He's been falling off the last couple of weeks because he's been getting in his mind. I'm going to need you to pull back up off of that, and we're going to need to get the A.J. Brown from the first 9 or 10 games back because we want to really do something, and you need to be a big part of it. That's why we brought you here. It's all right. It happens. Everybody sometimes, you get a little misguided. You're frustrated with the play call and different stuff. Get back focused, my brother. Give you some hot yoga. As a matter of fact, do some goat yoga and some meditation and get right. Let's get this, man.
Yeah, if you
real quick, guys, we have 10 minutes left in the show, and we still haven't wrapped up Dallas, and that's fair. I kind of knew we were going to get this way because that's how ugly of a loss it was. But we do have to preview the Seahawks just a little bit. We have to preview them a little bit, okay? Eagles offense versus the Seahawks defense. What is your plan of attack?
My plan of attack is take what they give you, throw the short routes, run the ball. If you have the shot, take it. But if not, run the ball. Run the ball down their throat, control the time of possession. This will not happen. So I'm not in a delusional world, but that's my plan.
Well, the Seattle Seahawks are one of the few teams in the NFL to allow more yards per game than the Philadelphia Eagles. They're 28th in the league, 367 yards per game. They have one of the worst defenses in football. Their strength is their cornerback room. You're going to be able to run the football. You're going to be able to throw the ball to the tight end. Jake Ferguson had a field day versus them. You are going to be able to throw the ball in the slot, move AJ there, move Devontae there, throw the ball to Zacchaeus, and get Dallas Goedert involved. But the The strength of Seattle's defense is Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, which are their cornerbacks. You can bully this defensive line. You can run the football, and you can win the game in between the hash marks. That's what the Eagles offense needs to do to the Seattle defense. Godfrey?
Yeah. Is Geno going to play? Or is that still up in the air?
Yes, he's playing.
He's definitely playing?
It looks like it. He's listed as questionable, but he was a limited participant in practice.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I have people are going to say I'm not afraid of the Seahawks offense.
I am.
I mean, listen, DK Metcalf had a hell of a game. You know, I watched a lot of that, and people were kind of shocked. I wasn't shocked. Bland is not as – listen, he's got the INT record, but he's not a lockdown corner. Stop.
I disagree with you.
Number
one PFF cornerback in the football.
Yeah, I don't really put all the stock in it. That's wrong, too. And when I watched that game –
you don't put all the stock in it, but if he's the number one PFF cornerback in football, you can't take away from what he's done this year.
All right, I'm not taking away from what he's done, but touchdowns are heavily weighted, are they not? And he's got 6 of them. So
they are heavily weighted. You're right.
Okay, so let's separate that from the coverage. Did Metcalf torch him?
Metcalf did torch him. That's the only game this year.
He used him the whole game.
You're right.
So
it got so bad they took him off of him.
Right. So you're telling me
you're absolutely correct. That is correct. Deron Bland has been torched one game this year, and it was versus.
And then he got torched by Jackson Smith and Jigba in the second half, and
Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
Yes, he got torched that game. He had a very bad football game. I don't disagree with you at all.
For years, last year even,
but we didn't.
The year before that, you could run on the Seahawks. The Seahawks say run on us. They invite you pretty much because of how they're set up. You can run. You're right. You can exploit them with the tight end, 100%. You should be able to easily run up the middle. I know they made a trade for Leonard Williams improvement, but you still can have your way with the run game if you choose to do so. Passing will be tough for sledding. I agree. I still think it could be exploited. I think you can definitely exploit them at the slot, and we'll see what happens there. But the Eagles, I hate saying this every week because it just seems like I'm saying the same shit, but they need to run the ball against this team, and they can absolutely do that against the Seahawks. My grandmother
around the edges. Their stretch plays will work perfectly versus this team. Boye Mafe and Draymond Jones are not good ends. They're not good bookends.
Right.
You can easily run at them. Run the stretch play. Run the outside zone. Whatever you want to call it, you got to run over your tackles. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata.
Tackle all day. Yep. Are they going to? That's the question. Are they going to?
The design of the Seahawks is puzzling because if you look at their division, they really should be more heavy on trying to go against the run with the Niners, with the Rams. But they're not.
Williams, but you're right.
Yeah. But Leonard Williams it's a Band-Aid, really. I mean, the corners are good. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Eagles can beat this team. Listen, if the Eagles don't get up for this game,
I don't think it's about getting up, bro. If you're not coached properly, I'm not going to do it.
Well, listen, you could say they're not coached properly. I hear you, but they should
not.
Yeah,
I mean, we both agree that they're not coached properly.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that.
There are problems on different sides of the football.
I mean, there's problems on both sides. I'm not saying it like again.
Listen, you can have this team. They can be beat. I'm not. The Seahawks are not as good as the Eagles. I know it seems like, hey, we got to tread water lightly.
Great football games. They got beat by the Baltimore Ravens by like 60 points. How did the Eagles defense stop or slow down Geno Smith and the offense? Because that's where my biggest issue is, and we have to cover that part too. We only have 5 minutes left, boys.
Go ahead, Godfrey. Go first.
You want to say how do the Eagles defense slow down Geno Smith?
How do we stop the Seahawks offense?
Yeah,
man. I mean, listen, they're gonna play what they play philosophically, and you're just not gonna try to give it the big plays. I don't think they're gonna be able to beat us by dinking and dunking down the field and running the ball. I just don't see that. I know Jalen Carter's washed, but I just don't see them doing that on the back end. I would surprise anybody who watched them play the Cowboys most recently. You got to tell me you expected them to score 33 points on them? No, nobody expected that. So 35 points they scored. I'm looking at
the Seahawks versus. Yes, correct. I got you.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely possible for the Eagles. It's the rebound week, man. I'm not
Yeah, but
really scared. They're favored by 3.5 on the road. It's the rebound week. This is with them against the world right now, and this is where they have to show up. I don't think this team is that far gone where they're just completely washed and they're not going to show up the last 4 games. Yeah, they got smoked by the Ravens. You're talking, but the Ravens also have gotten beat by the Colts and they've gotten beat by the Steelers. So
what does
every
that have
team
to
can
do
have a
with
week.
the Seahawks?
It has to do because you were referencing how the Ravens smoked the Seahawks, and you were talking about how their losses were against good teams.
No, their losses are against good teams, bad teams, whatever teams. They got beat by 50 by a good team. I was just using that as like nobody gets beat like that. That's insanity.
50? Are you
It's not really. It was 36-3. Is that what the score was? It was something.
37-3 in Baltimore? Yeah, it was an ugly game.
Okay, cool. How does the Eagles offense? We're running out of time, guys. I'm sorry.
We have this. I'll make it quick.
Eagles
we have
defense.
to,
I apologize.
Yeah, we have to get back to stopping the run to some extent. I'm checking to see if Kenneth Walker is supposed to be playing or not.
We'll be playing. Yes.
So if Kenneth Walker's playing, that's going to be a problem. That donut in the middle is going to be a problem. Our corners are going to have to sell out, right? We can't allow DK Metcalf to do what he's been doing. The best thing that we can do, which will not happen again, is take Sidney Brown and put him deep. Let him be the guy to cover on both sides. That's like the free safety and be kind of like a center fielder. We really need that because, like I said, no, it's no knock to guys. We all get older. We don't move as good as we did 10, 15 years ago. They're a little bit older. They can't run as well. That's why we're playing. I feel like the way we're playing, philosophy is the problem. That's not going to change. So I'm not exactly sure how it's going to work. But those are the things I think that we can do to win, and we got to try to get some turnover. But a long time since we got some ourselves. It would be nice.
Jackson Smith and Jigba, put him in every one of your parlays. He's going to have a field day versus the Philadelphia Eagles defense this week. He'll be playing in the slot. He will absolutely abuse the middle of the field. Put him in every one of your parlays. He will absolutely abuse the Philadelphia Eagles. In order for the Eagles to win this football game defensively, they have to get pressure without blitzing. I said that all week they need to blitz in different games. This is a game where you cannot blitz because you have 3 elite wide receivers on the outside and you have a very terrible offensive line in Seattle. You can get pressure with your front 4. You need to get your rotations and you need to get off the field on 3rd down. It's absolutely essential for this Eagles defense to get pressure and stop the run without having to commit and run blitz or blitz, period.
I feel like the middle of the field's an all-inclusive destination vacation spot for anybody that plays the Eagles.
It absolutely is. And lucky for the Eagles, this team doesn't have a tight end. No offense, not really good. But what's your score prediction? And then we'll get into counterfeit green. We'll obviously go a couple minutes late, guys.
I'll go 24-17.
Eagles?
Yeah.
Good. Just making sure. I got to ask you.
Always Eagles.
Always Eagles. I'm gonna go. 38-7. No, not 31-17.
You think the Eagles blow them out?
Yeah, I do.
21-20. Eagles.
Damn.
I think they slow the football game down a ton. I think that they're gonna work on time possession to take time off the clock. I think they end up winning the football game. And let me change it, 23-20, because I don't think they'll score 3 touchdowns. I think they'll get stopped in the red zone and bomb it up 3 times. I think they'll have 3 field goals, 2 touchdowns versus the Seattle Seahawks having 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. 23-20 Eagles. If you're betting the game, Seattle +4 is probably the best bet. Counterfeit green. I have one. Anybody else?
I'm good for the day.
Yeah. You go.
My counterfeit green's Darius Slay retweeting Pro Football Focus. When you're playing 70% zone, you have to stop friggin' doing that. Listen, the fan that stood out front of the NovaCare complex with the no play Slay and the Bradbury trash cans and Slay responding to it is terrible. But then to respond to it and then retweet your Pro Football Focus stats just drives me up a wall. You make millions of dollars to play cornerback on the Philadelphia Eagles. You should not be concerned with an idiot says on Twitter or the guy standing in front of the NovaCare complex does. You should be concerned with getting that defense right. Fletcher Cox doesn't speak much to the media. And when he spoke to the media, it was very telling. There's problems inside that locker room. This team is not used to losing football games. We have not seen Nick Sirianni have to deal with true adversity in that building, and they're dealing with it now. So the leaders in that locker room need to step up. And guys, I'm going to say it, and I'll say it again. A.J. Brown needs to shut the hell up. He is talking way too much. He's getting in fights with other teams. I fully believe that quote was A.J. Brown. The anonymous source, and then it came out that it was A.J. Brown, and he denied it. I fully believe that quote was A.J. Brown. So
yeah, me too.
There's locker room issues. Yes,
the quote was supposed to be multiple sources. Will you say that A.J. Brown was one of them? Absolutely, he was. Absolutely, he was. But I think it was more than just him.
I feel like when you get paid $20 million on a team, you need to be about the team and keep things in the house. They're paying you a substantial amount of money to be a team player on this team. You do not need to air grievances out with other people. You need to have those talk. If you're $20 million, you can walk into the coach's office and tell the coach your grievances. You don't need to say that to a reporter. You don't need to say that to anyone else.
Fair. That's fair.
That's my problem.
Well, the reason why he's probably doing that is he might have had grievances and a coach disagrees. And so since he's not getting what he wants.
Well, I'm going to say right now, and to Nick Sirianni, everything is fine. It's a freaking idiot.
Well, you inspire me.
His press conference was the worst press conference I've ever heard. I don't know if it was just coach speak and he wasn't trying to give us anything and he's doing more behind the scenes, but the comments that he said, like, dude, I could have stood up there and gave you better answers than Nick Sirianni. And I'm not in the locker room.
You inspired me for my counterfeit green because that Nick Sirianni is my counterfeit green. He can't be going up there like Bill Belichick, like he's got 6 Super Bowl rings, right? Like
he didn't do that. He answered questions. He just answered them terribly.
Yeah, well, it was stupid answers. They were answers.
My thing is but he seemed defiant almost. They were stupid answers, but it seemed like he was annoyed. Like, oh, you know, and that's the kind of stuff. Like, if you don't, he doesn't have Nick. You don't have that equity yet. You don't. I mean, maybe he thinks he does because he got the Eagles to the Super Bowl. But in Philadelphia, you get equity with championships, not second place.
I just feel like that when you go up in a press conference and listen. It's like Jimmy Johnson said, and I hate quoting the Dallas Cowboy. If you want to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And Nick Sirianni loves gloating and talking the talk when 100%. That team's winning. When that team's losing, you got to walk the walk. You have to be able to hold people accountable and have those conversations, and he doesn't. That's a problem. You're yelling at Chiefs fans. You're yelling at Chiefs fans like, well, I don't hear you now. And it's all cute and funny, and we make fun of him for being a little nerdy, but you can't answer questions like that in a presser if you're going to be an absolute baby when you lose. You can't do that. And I couldn't stand the way he did it.
Well said.
Anybody else have any?
I'm losing respect for Nick Sirianni daily.
Derek Dempsey said that's why they need a players only meeting. I agree with him. Guys, I love talking football with you every week. We're going to do it again next week. Hopefully about a win, previewing a Christmas Day game. All I want for Christmas is for the Eagles to win out and figure out what they're doing wrong. That's all I want for Christmas this year. Oh, and a podcasting chair. If you guys want to send it to me, I'll send you my address. DM me privately. I'm the NFL Genius, Gene Walzak. Cool McCain from Eagles Elite Podcast, the Play Callers Podcast. My guy's just all over the place, killing it. D Godfrey, THEE. Me and D Godfrey will be on next on Sideline to Sideline, breaking down every NFL game, including this awful football game that's being played tonight. So thank you guys for tuning in to Birds Deep this week. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Hey, strap up because this is when this is live action. You know, these last 4 games might not be great opponents, but you're gonna have their Eagles got to show what they got to do. So Eagles fans, strap up. It's gonna go down to the wire if you get the number 1 seed or not.
Fly Eagles fly. We gotta do something this week.
You play to